awake and engaged public? Are there concerns about the small donations that come in online and other things? You bet there are. But the problem is, who's going to oversee that? We fall into this trap a lot sometimes of we see this injustice, especially in campaigns and in politics. Oh, that stinks, there should be a law. You want Nancy Pelosi enforcing campaign finance law? Or Gabrielle Giffords? They're useless. So that's the problem, there's no one to enforce that. Freedom is the only thing that can help shed a light on it. We need light on these problems so the American people can see them. We don't need a new law, we need our eyes open. And right now I think our eyes are open, so I think we'll be fine. Sir?
Besides needing more money, what else can we do to help you get elected?
Bumper stickers. It's worth $400 in paid advertising to put a bumper sticker on your car. You ask about Social Security. Beyond any other plans we may have that I won't go into here, we have a flyer on that. Hand it to your friends that are concerned. And not only that flyer, hand our other comparison piece flyer. It matters. Tell people. We won our primary, we won it pretty handily, and no matter how much TV we ran, or radio we did, or anything else, Fox News, it didn't matter. I still heard more than anything else, my friend told me about you. Oh, my sister did. My mother did. Don't take a flyer as you leave here tonight and talk about how great it was. Take 10, take 20, believe me, we have tens of thousands, we will not run out. Take them and tell your circle, your friends, your neighbors, the people you work with. That's what we need. Lynn held up our new hats. You still have one up here? We have new hats and t-shirts. Take a t-shirt and throw it on. You would not believe the response. You walk into a grocery store or Home Depot with that t-shirt on. It's great. You make new friends in the bread aisle. So, those things, and we joke, and they sound like little things, they matter. That kind of grassroots perception matters. That's why signs and bumper stickers and t-shirts and hats matter. When there's a perception that there's a real momentum there, that there's a wave coming, as we've been blessed with on this campaign, that's how you win. So that's what we need. Sir?
Could you talk a bit about foreign policy, particularly Afghanistan, Iran,
Yes, sir.
and sort of what you perceive as the current administration's policy?
Well, the current administration's policies are terrible for foreign policy. They involve alienating our friends, violating treaties we've made with good friends like Poland, doing everything we can to snub Israel, who is our best ally in the world, and quite frankly, reaching out a hand to enemies who don't deserve it. We're the United States of America. You don't get caught shaking hands with a big smile on your face with Hugo Chavez, a man who's called this country the Great Satan. You don't do that. You don't reach out. You don't talk about meeting with Ahmadinejad without preconditions. You don't do that. We don't prop up and legitimize these tyrants. And when there's a group of people freedom fighting in Iran, as there was during that election, do you know that 65% of Iranians love the United States of America? Mm-hmm. Do we have great approval ratings there?
No.
You just don't know it because of their government. They love us there. Our president, I'm not even talking military action, he couldn't even step behind a microphone and support the people who are fighting a tyrant. Come on, let's get a spine. We are the free world. Without the United States of America, there is no free world. These tyrants, these wolves that are out there would devour this world. We have an obligation to lead this free world and to be that light that other nations look to. And to lead it, even vocally, if that's what we do. And I'm sick and tired of a president who apologizes for me overseas. I'm tired of somebody who goes to Egypt. You go to Egypt and apologize to a country that will be speaking German were it not for the blood of American troops. This world owes its safety and what freedom it has to the United States of America. We are the greatest country in the world, and that's what I want to hear from this president overseas. You never heard Ronald Reagan apologize for this country, ever. Iran is a very frightening thing. That's a very dangerous man. Those imams who run that nation are very dangerous people. They are fully committed to getting that nuclear weapon, and they're fully committed to using that nuclear weapon, and they do fund terrorism. Iran is directly funding the death of American troops across this nation. We better be aware of that, and we better not leave any option off the table when it comes to dealing with Iran. As far as Afghanistan goes, we're losing in Afghanistan right now. We don't have to be. We can win. We should win now. Stop letting the politicians run the war. Stop sending the generals thousands less troops than they need. Stop sending our brave men and women to war and tying their hands behind their back. You can't engage at night, you can't fire until fired upon, you can't call for close air support unless you're close to a village. If that's how we're going to treat them, then bring them home. We have the best trained military in the world. We have the best equipment, the finest training in the world. And by the way, that's not just patriotic rah-rah speak. I was an infantry marine and I trained with people all across this world. We are an amazing military force. I mean, it is something to be proud of. Be proud of your military. We are spoiled here. They are amazing. And they can win that war. We either get out of their way and let them do so or bring them home. But again, we don't see a commitment to it. I touched on his speech at West Point. How do we give an enemy an 18-month deadline on when we're leaving? I've never heard of that in my life. Imagine if we had declared war on the Japanese in World War II and said, hey, 2 years, we're wrapping this up. I just can't believe it, sir.
One of the things that Mr. Bush, when he ran in 1990, I think 1990, he was very adamant about nation building. And what happened in Iraq and Afghanistan is we got sucked down into this nation building. We won the war in Iraq pretty damn quick. It was over in, what, 30 days? But look how long we've been there, and we're doing the same thing in Afghanistan again.
Here's the problem with this, with the concept of nation building, or should we do it, should we not do it? We had World War II because of what we did after World War I. I mean, you guys, you're conservatives in this room, you know your history, but after World War II, after World War I, we blamed the whole thing on Germany. We dumped them with debt, and that's how we had such an evil tyrant raise up, because we didn't do anything to help them. We dumped on the place, and then we rode away. That's not an option either. Do we want to stay bogged down in a nation for a decade? No. That's no way to fight a war, and it's expensive to do so. But it's also not an option to go in, wipe out and remove a tyrant, and then turn off and leave and say, hey, goodbye, because you get another tyrant that's just as bad. And in this country, we have really something that's unique in that we're the only nation in the history of the world that had a revolution, and we exchanged a tyrant for freedom. Every other country exchanged a tyrant for another. So we have to do some of that. We have to do some of installing a government, or at least a security, that keep the evil away. We're not doing that in Afghanistan. We did it in Iraq. We're coming home. Should it have taken as long, so on and so forth? I don't want to go back and do 20/20 hindsight on it. I'll tell you this, in Afghanistan, the mission right now is build up their security forces enough so the Taliban don't immediately wipe them out. And they would as we stand right now. If we build up their security forces enough so they don't, we come home. Are we going to install the United States of American government in Afghanistan? No, it's not that kind of nation, never will be. We just need to make sure the Taliban don't take it over, because the terrorists then have it, and Pakistan is nuclear and Pakistan is fragile. It's not for them, it's for our national security. Sir?
Once elected, could you tell us the types of legislation that you would like to introduce and/or support?
Sure. We touched on it a little bit earlier, a constitutional amendment that would immediately limit the spending of the federal government. 10% flat tax for this nation. I would also like to see the complete elimination of the current corporate tax rate. We have the second highest corporate tax rate in the world. It punishes business. Either move to no corporate tax rate or move to an 8% business consumption tax in this country. These are economic things we can do. Also, the regulatory agencies, the EPA, all these other groups, force them to come before Congress. For one, strip them of their power. You can pass no regulations on the American people or the economy without congressional approval. The Senate just tried to pass a bill like that. It failed 53-47 on the EPA. We need to pass a bill like that. And by the way, all this is after we repeal Obamacare. That has to be first and foremost. But that's what we need. Force these agencies to come give an accounting to the Congress every year. What have you done with your previous year's funding? What have you done for the American people? If you can't give an accounting, force them to renew the funding source every single year. These blanket massive checks we write it's not sustainable. Ma'am?
Yeah, we had somebody visit us recently, and for 4 weeks, and they live in Switzerland, they're a professor. And for 4 weeks, he travels Europe with a class, a credit class. They visit the head banks in Europe and stock market